Another technique in order to make sure your data is as valid and accurate as possible is to set up validation rules, and then if those rules are violated, you add some validation text that will pop up to the user once they violate those rules. When you set up validation rules for fields, you can use any of the arithmetic operators, the plus, the minus, the division, the subtraction. You can use comparison operators, which are your less than, greater than, less than or equal to, greater than or equal to, not equal to. You can use wildcard characters, which are your question mark, your star, or your pound sign. And you can also combine them with your and or not. So let me give you a couple examples here. You know how when you start a new year and you start writing checks, typically you put let's say it's the beginning of January 2018, you start writing a check January 1st and you automatically put 2017, the year before. Well, what you can do to prevent somebody from accidentally doing that is you can create a validation rule for a date field. And all you need to do is you come down to the validation rule and you say greater than or equal to 1/1/2018. The minute you hit enter, notice that Access puts pound signs around the date. So you don't necessarily have to type that in, but you have to recognize that it needs to be there. That's how Access recognizes that as a date. So it's not going to allow the user to enter any date prior to January 1st, 2018. Okay? Let's make sure, let's add a little bit more to that and make sure that somebody doesn't accidentally put in 2019. So what we can also do is add the word and less than or equal to 12/31/18. Now, if a person violates this rule, you want a message, a nice kind message to put up and say, so you can say, please make sure the date is in the year 2018. All right, I'm going to save my file. I'm going to say yes. I'm going to say yes again. Okay, so now if I come here, let's just say I'm going to accidentally put 10 January 17 and I hit enter. Here is my text message that appears. Click OK, press escape, go back to design view. All right, so that's a validation rule, validation text for a date field. Another example would be for a currency or numeric field. Let's say the daily rental rate, the cheapest daily rental rate has to be a certain value. So let's make sure that you know that the rental rate it's got to be greater than or equal to 100. And you could then put the rate must be greater than 100. Okay? And so again, if we now save this and go to datasheet view, now my daily rental, if I put in 50, sorry, let me go back here. Okay, and here it tells me I can't put it in because it has to be greater than 100. Okay? Go back to design view. Oh, I got to put a rate of 100 in there first. Here we go. Sorry about that. Okay, let's go back to design view. Now, another nice feature is let's come up here to product name. Equipment ID is the primary key, so you know that it has to be required. But if you want to make another field required, we can change the required property from no to yes, and that will definitely, so that means the user ID must put in an equipment ID and it must put in a product name in order for the record to be saved. Instead of changing the required to yes, you could also say not null in the validation rule. And what that changes to is not null. And then this way, by doing it this way, you can say you must enter a product name. Okay, in other words, they can't skip it. All right, and so now if we go to datasheet view, save the table, tells us some of the rules. Okay, if I come down here to a brand new equipment and I start putting in 10400, and let's say I try to save this record, notice I can't save that record until I put a product in. So I'll go ahead and put a hammer. Okay, and notice the minute I changed that hammer, it changed to capital and blue. Now when I go up there, oh, my rate has to be greater than 100. So I have to come over here and make sure my rate is 100. And now I can save my record. That is the required property. So I could have said required yes here, but you don't get as nice of a prompt for the user for them to recognize what that message says, where if you do is not null, you can add your own custom message to that. So this is a validation rule, validation text, required property in Access.